Hello my viewers, welcome back to the channel. By the video title, you know what this video is about. Which Steeler players stood out to you the most in the first week of preseason football? I know it's just preseason, so you don't want to overreact to all the things you see. I know the preseason don't really count upon the record or any of your standings in the division or anything, but it do count for some of the young players and some of the people who are probably some depth pieces for your team to get more reps, in-game reps, and also get that experience they need for real-time football game speed. One of the players, well, actually two of the players that stood out to me initially when you first get into the first preseason game was, of course, Kenny Pickett and GP. They started off and they led the opening touchdown drive, went out there, and it was just so in sync. So in sync. I know GP only caught one ball that drive, but if you look at some of the things and some of the routes, he was open a few of those times, and Kenny Pickett was so in sync with his guys, with Deontay Johnson, finding him, and then finding George Pickens across the middle, and letting him go out there and make a big-time play, and scored a touchdown, 33-yard touchdown. It was just amazing to see like all those guys in sync and how they worked well and meshed well and blocked well too, and getting those first downs too as well. That was a big part of the game as well that we saw. We got a lot of first downs in that game. We was doing good on third down. We was able to convert on third down, and we got like move the change. You know, last year kind of struggled with that, trying to keep the drive going. And on third down, we used to struggle. It'd be third and short. It can be third and long, and we always struggle. We could never get off the field. We could never stay on the field. I meant to say we can never stay on the field and keep the ball moving. But this year, well, this preseason, this is the first game, but still, I saw that us being more fast-paced and not just overthinking it and keeping the thing simple like that, and not just going out there and just calling anything, but just keeping the play calling just like flowing right, nothing absurd, like everything's just staying the course. Because last year we had a lot of different weird things. It's like you go into a party, it's like you're going to like a party, a music listening party, and they say they're only gonna play rock and roll music. And then you get to a certain point of the party, somebody start playing gospel, they start playing rap, they start playing R&B. You be like, what's going on? That's kind of the play call was last year. It was like they call some good plays, and then we see a bad play call. Like we'd be like going down the field, and like, oh, it's 3rd and 1. We'll run the ball. Now we're gonna do a play action pass and go deep. Like, why? Just keep it simple. Just run and get the first down. Like this 3rd and 1 is 1 yard. And this year, I like that I'm seeing more of that. The O-line did look a little better too. Some of those guys had a chance to play early on. But I like the chemistry I saw between Kenny Pickett and the receivers. You know, Kenny Pickett and Deontay Johnson and GP, all those guys in sync. But one person that stood out the most, I think everybody was agree with, is Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin went out there and he played amazing football. I know it's just preseason, but to see him go out there and get real game experience and the way they were able to use him in different spots. They had him getting some handoffs, some receiver sweeps, and they also had him going out there and, you know, showing his first-class speed, like I mentioned all the time in every video. You know, he has that first-class speed. He can get down the field. He can make plays as a deep threat receiver, and that's what the Steelers have been missing for the past few years. Of course, we got GP, who's a vertical threat guy. He's going to be the #1 guy most likely. And he probably be a guy you can rely on to move the sticks, and Deontay Johnson, the route runner, the shiftiness. But having a guy like Calvin Austin with that speed where teams will start having to, like, okay, if he start making plays, big-time plays over and over, teams going to start respecting it, and it opens up so much more. Opens up a lot for the run game, opens a lot for other receivers as well, and it just opens your playbook up as well, so you can like call a lot of different varieties of different plays. But Calvin Austin went out there and he made some plays. That big touchdown he had where he just put the Jets on and just burnt the guy, and I was like, that right there is amazing. So seeing him use his speed and getting his first game experience, because it's basically his rookie year, because, you know, last year was a rookie, but he never got a chance to get on the field. He never played a preseason game, and we hurt his foot. And remember, the Steelers raved about him in training camp. And we know the Steelers raving about a receiver in training camp or anywhere, it's probably going to be a good receiver, because they are very good at finding receivers. You look at just recent history, Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool was cool for a year and a half. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, and now Calvin Austin. And you look at also Jericho Cotchery, Emmanuel Sanders, the Super Bowl champion with the Broncos, and all type of guys who went out there and played for the Steelers. And some of the guys, when they left the Steelers, they didn't do so good. But some of the guys, you know, they stayed here for a good amount of time and they performed well. I think the only guys that really did pretty good after they left, of course, Emmanuel Sanders, the first one. And I think Juju Smith-Schuster, And Chase Claypool, we have yet to see too much of him with the Bears so far. We'll see how that goes. But the Steelers always have a good knack of finding receivers and finding guys to put in their system like that. That's one thing about the Steelers. They can find receivers and they can find pass rushers. Linebackers and receivers are they forte. They can find those guys like that. The DBs has kind of been questionable, but the thing lately, I hope they found the right guy. You know, they got JPJ there. And of course they got Minka. We traded for Minka. And Patrick Peterson we signed, and Levi Wallace we signed. Most of the guys we signed them. JPJ is the guy we drafted, who's a DB, so hopefully he does well. I think he's going to be nice. He's a man-to-man coverage guy. But I like what I saw from the receivers in this preseason. And also, I like what I saw from Herbig as well. He had 2 sacks. No, I always mix the names up. I think Nate Herbig is the offensive lineman, the big brother, and Nick Herbig is the pass rusher. I think I'm right. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below. But Herbig had those 2 sacks in the game. And Keanu Benton was another guy, too, that we saw who was creating a lot of force, a lot of push as well on the D-line. Like, okay, he was leading the charge in some of those stops, especially in that 4th down stop, too, as well. To stuff him on 4th down, Keanu Benton was all in there. He was getting in there, and that's going to be very versatile and very good. Seeing him, DeMarvin Leal, of course, the great Cam Hayward out there as well, and Larry OG, and mixing it up. Montravius Adams out there as well. So we have a lot of different guys we can go to. You know, last year that wasn't the case because the depth was kind of like scarce a little bit. But this year you see all the depth they have and guys at different levels who still, even the backups are performing at a solid level where you're like, okay, they can actually be starters on some teams. So having that type of depth is always good. You see what happened to the Eagles last year. The Eagles had a lot of depth last year and they got to the Super Bowl. You know, having that depth and having that versatility on the roster just bolster your skill play up and open your playbook up more as well. Another thing I liked that I saw too was the 12 personnel that we saw a few times throughout a preseason game as well was on with Darnell Washington, who is 6'7", like 270 pounds. And then also his counterpart, Zach Gentry, who is about 6'7", 270 pounds as well. Having both of those guys in the 12 personnel, that is a big lineup right there, having those 2 guys, because Darnell Washington called himself the 6'0" lineman. He's calling himself. So having him out there and having Zach Gentry out there, they both can catch too as well. So you can do some trickery as well with some things too. So having those guys out there and leading the force, and we've seen them help on some of those runs and as well when Jalen Warren was out there making plays. So having those big beasts out there just throwing people around on the edge, they're going to be nice to see how they mix and match it up. And they might run a personnel where they have 3 tight ends. They might pit Pat Freiermuth out wide, have Darnell Washington and Zach Gentry out there too as well. And you see who try to stop that, who try to guard that, especially in the red zone. So it's great to see the Steelers mix and match a lot of their depth and mix and matching and doing and trying different things because it's the new era of Steeler football. You know, the old era is over. You know, Big Ben, you know, James Harrison, Troy Polamalu, all those great players, those legendary Hall of Fame players, you know, their era was amazing. And then now we kind of, you know, Big Ben was the last one of that era a little bit. So now he's retired. And, you know, last year we got the new era of Steeler football. And then this year we're going to see when they have all the pieces together. They got the O-line pieces. They got the secondary pieces they wanted. And they got, you know, they got more money as well. So they're able to go out there and they made the deals they wanted to get in the trades. Allen Robinson getting added and stuff. So now we're going to see the Steelers for who they truly are. I think there's going to be a special year. It just feels a little more uplifting than last year. It feels like you have a lot more like hope for this team and a lot more like confidence in this team because it's very young and it's like only way to go from here is really up. I think they had our little floor and ceiling. They did the predictions. They say our floor is probably the same as 9-8 or 10-7 ish, and our ceiling can be 12-5. So I feel like the Steelers can fall within that range of 10 to 12 games, depending on how they come and prepare for games. So they can easily be a team that can be 13 or 14 wins when you look at the roster and look at the talent, but you got to put the pieces together. So they can easily be a team that's also 9 wins or 8 wins if you don't put the pieces together and you go out there and just do random things. But I think the way the team is structured and the way the coaching, of course, Coach Tomlin being an amazing coach, I think this team going to go out there and do some spectacular things and get us back to the playoffs, not just to get there for a playoff appearance, but to get there and make some playoff noise and win some playoff games. But that's all I got for the video today, guys. Let me know who was the most Steeler you excited for. Well, that didn't sound right. Most Steeler you excited for. What Steeler was you most excited for seeing in the preseason game, and who surprised you the most as well? Mine, of course, is Calvin Austin. I wasn't really surprised. I wasn't really surprised by it because I kind of figured that he's going to be good because the Steelers are very good at finding receivers. But I was still excited to see what he did. So let me know in the comment section down below who you guys thought of. I'm tripping. I'm about to work out. Got this big jacket on. It's hot outside right now. But I think about 101 degrees. I'm gonna go outside and do some jump roping and get some squats and stuff. You know, just keep the body right and stuff. So if I don't make another video, that means I passed out from a heat stroke, and someone else can take over my channel from here. I'll leave it to somebody. But peace out.